The Maruti Suzuki Fronx was first displayed at the Auto Expo, and now we are finally driving it here in Goa. Now, there are a lot of interesting points about this car. If you look at it, it is the shape of a compact SUV. It is based on the Baleno platform. You can see some similarity as well. It brings back the 1-liter boosted jet engine that came earlier with the Baleno RS. It was discontinued, but now it's back. And of course, there are some other new things in this car. So what is the Fronx all about? How is it to drive? What are its pros and cons? And does it make sense for you to go in for this instead of a premium hatchback or not? Let's find out. Now, first things first, the design. Now, if you look at the Fronx, well, like I said earlier, it's based on the Baleno platform, but it doesn't look like a Baleno on stilts. It's got distinctive styling and a good styling at that. Now, if you look at the front, you can see this wide grille and it's got this glossy black panel here, this design again with a lot of chrome. And if you look at the bumper, again, you've got the headlamps in the lower part, you've got the LED DRL on the top, which seems to be the trend these days. The bumper itself has quite a good number of sharp angular creases. All of it combined with this hood gives the Fronx a nice aggressive front stance, gives the car a sporty feel, and I think that is something that will go very well with a lot of young buyers. Also, once you move towards the side, well, this is where you can see the clear intent from the designers to give it an SUV stance. The gap between the wheel and the panel here, you can see this gives the car an elevated and upright look to give it that SUV stance. Also, again, a lot has been done to give this a sporty stance here at the rear. You can see the roof line which kind of tapers off, and the back end which is quite sleek. Now, what I really like about these tail lamps is the entire setup. They are connecting tail lamps, so they run from one end to the other, LED units, and the cluster again has been given a very nice design as a result of which looks great in dark conditions. Combine it with a bumper and a lot of busy bodywork at the rear. You can see there's a lot going at the back. Unlike the front, it's a busy rear end, but at the end of the day, it manages to look good. And the good part about the Fronx is that unlike the breed of crossovers that were based on hatchback platforms that came in a few years back from many car makers, this one doesn't look like that. It looks good. Most importantly, it looks fresh. And that is where I think in terms of design, the Fronx makes a big difference. Now, once you step inside the cabin of the Fronx, you are greeted to a modern and a well laid out cabin. Yes, there are similarities with the Baleno, and that's perfectly fine. But what I like here is the dashboard layout. The way different elements and colors have been put together gives the car a pretty rich feel. The 9-inch touchscreen here, again, a brilliant unit, nice slick touch response. The visibility is good. The user interface is simple, gives you Android Auto, Apple CarPlay, has Suzuki Connect, comes with over 40 connected features which you can use using a smartphone. So again, that is a very impressive thing. It also comes with a heads-up display, which we saw was introduced with the Baleno. Similar unit, you get a lot of information which you can customize, and it helps the driver maintain the focus on the road because you get all the required information within your line of sight. You do not have to take your eyes off the road to see information on the other screen. The instrument cluster is the usual Maruti instrument cluster that we are used to seeing, a combination of digital and analog. No changes there, no complaints, nice clear readouts, perfectly fine. The steering wheel is a flat bottom one, comes with your telephony and audio controls. Also the cruise control on the right side feels nice and chunky to hold, gives you a good feel of the car. In terms of driving position, it's a raised car. It does give you a elevated driving feel. So yes, it doesn't feel like a big SUV, but it doesn't feel like a hatchback as well. So yes, successfully some bit of that SUV flavor has been brought into the driving height as well. Overall visibility, I would say, is great. Even the rear visibility from this mirror is nice, and even the A pillars here, they do not create too much of a blind spot. So that is also a good thing. You get automatic climate control here with the higher variants. If I talk about the plastic quality used in the lower part of the dashboard, the middle part is good. The lower part, I would say, is decent. Could have been a bit better for a Nexa vehicle. You have a wireless charging tray here, and if I talk about the practical storage space inside the cabin, again the Fronx scores high because the door pockets, very nice usable places you get for keeping a water bottle and a lot more. You get cup holders here, and there's also some storage space underneath the driver armrest, which by the way is adjustable. The seats here are very comfortable. The side bolstering is impressive. The cushioning also is pretty much spot on and is accommodating enough to fit in adults of varying sizes. One thing that some people might complain about is the lack of a sunroof. The Fronx does not offer a sunroof, but I think for this segment and the kind of price we're looking at, it makes sense to not have a sunroof because that would just push the cost higher. Now, once you're in the back seat of the Fronx, well, I think it is a good place to be in. In terms of space, well, you can see clearly it is a spacious car. I've got the driver's seat adjusted to my driving preference. I'm 5 feet 8 inches for reference, and well, I do have a lot of leg room to spare. Knee room, again, no problem at all. If I look at the headroom, well, again, there is a fair amount of clearance, so taller occupants still should find themselves to be pretty comfortable. Talking of the seat itself, well, the seat cushioning, I would say, again, is spot on, just like the front seats. The under thigh support is okay, could have been better. It isn't short though. I wouldn't say it lacks. It's okay, it's decent at best. In terms of the backrest angles, support angle, I think that is also fine. You should be comfortable on long journeys. The adjustable headrest, again, this is a good addition, comes in handy to find a comfortable position. One miss here is the lack of an armrest. So there is no armrest here, and this is something that for a premium compact SUV, I think should have been there. I think it would have just added to the overall comfort. You also get the rear AC vents, and you get two charging ports at the back, one of them being a USB and the other here on the right side being a Type-C. So overall, I think the Fronx offers a nice cabin. Up front, I already told you, it's techy, it's loaded, it's nice, feels premium. At the back, it's spacious, it's functional, has got good space, has got good seats. Just that maybe having an armrest could have made it a little bit better. Okay, now talking about the performance of the Fronx, well, the highlight of the show is the booster jet engine, the return of the booster jet engine. But this time around, things are a bit different. When it was introduced in the Baleno RS a few years back, it was fully imported, but this time around the engine has been localized and it is now coming with the Suzuki Smart Hybrid system, and it also has an integrated starter generator, the ISG. Now, because it has this ISG, it has a small lithium-ion battery, it's a smart hybrid, so it also benefits from the fact that when you're braking, it regenerates energy, and that improves fuel efficiency. So we'll come back to the fuel efficiency again in a bit, but let's talk about the power first. So this one is coming with 100 PS of power output, and you can opt for either a manual transmission or a 6-speed automatic transmission. It's a torque converter unit. There's also a naturally aspirated engine, the 1.2 liter engine, which gives you about 89 PS of power, the standard engine that we see on Baleno as well. You can take that with either a 5-speed manual transmission or a 5-speed AMT. So the torque converter automatic transmission with paddle shifters can be bought only with the booster jet engine. Talking about the power, well, it has 100 PS of power, and while this does sound a fair bit on paper, out on the road, it does thankfully translate into good performance. Off the line, the start is a bit slow. It doesn't take off as fast as or as quick as at times one might want it to, but still it does take off cleanly. There's no hesitation or lag that way. Once you are up to a moving speed, acceleration is again pretty impressive. I wouldn't say it's like really good, but yes, it is enough to keep you interested. Now, I think that the engine has potential to deliver more performance, but what does take away the edge of the performance is this 6-speed automatic transmission. It is, I would say, a fine transmission in terms of balancing fuel efficiency and comfort, but when you want to go quick, it just doesn't respond that quick. It's okay, it's decent at best in terms of shifting speed, but that doesn't mean that you can't have fun with this car or with this engine, because thankfully Maruti has decided to give paddle shifters, and with the paddle shifters you can just slot it into a manual mode and you can take control of the gearbox with these paddle shifters, and that's when you will be able to enjoy the engine to its maximum potential. That's when you can really go closer to the red line. Well, I don't think going close to the red line is a great idea because it does get a little bit gruffy around the red line, but as long as you are around 5,000 mark, I think 5,000 to 5,500 mark, it is a really sweet spot. That's where you should be when you're trying to extract performance. But otherwise, when you're driving it in the normal automatic mode, it's comfortable to drive, hassle-free, no problems at all. It's a refined unit, no unwanted vibrations and sounds coming inside the cabin, and it's only when you're thrashing the car hard that you start getting the engine rumble inside, sort of the roughness from the engine, which I said will become audible only once you're close to about 6,000 or 6,000 RPM odd. But beyond that, it's a brilliant car to drive. Like I said earlier, good visibility, add to it the fact that the engine itself is quite punchy, and if you are in the mood to have fun, yes, this engine lets you do that. I'm sure with a manual gearbox this will be more fun to drive, but considering how our traffic is in most of the cities in India, I think automatic is a better option to go for. In terms of ride and handling, well, the Fronx is being positioned as a sporty compact SUV, and one would expect that the suspension would be set up towards the stiffer side, but that is not the case entirely. The suspension still manages to give you a good balance between comfort and performance, so that means you do not have a harsh ride quality. Going over speed breakers or going over rough patches does not send too many shock waves to the passengers inside. The cabin still remains largely insulated, and the suspension does a good job of ironing all those bumps out. Handling, well, handling is again an area where the Fronx continues to impress. It's based on the same Baleno platform, so don't expect it to be greatly different from the Baleno in terms of handling. But yes, it's higher, there's a difference in terms of weight, so all of that makes a difference, but again, you can feel confident pushing this around corners. It doesn't mind going around corners at a rapid speed, and it feels quite stable at triple-digit speeds on the highway. If you want to sit at triple-digit cruising speeds, you can easily do that with the cruise control on. Braking from high speed again feels stable, it's not an issue. The steering, well, it does give you somewhat of a feedback. It's light, So driving it in the urban environment is super easy. It's a super light steering. I would have preferred it to, gain a little bit more weight once you are up to some speed, but that's perfectly fine. It's targeted at urban buyers, so I think from that perspective, it does a good job of giving convenience and comfort to the drivers. The other good thing which makes things easy for any driver or maybe a new driver is the fact that this comes with the 360-degree camera system. So this gives you a bird's eye view of the car, and this makes it very easy to park your car in tight spots or pull it out of a tight one. Alright, now time to answer the main question before we end this video. Should you go in for the Fronx or probably a premium hatchback? Well, if you're comparing it to a hatchback, this has got pretty much what any hatchback, say a Baleno, would have. But where it does have an edge is the body styling. A lot of Indian buyers today want the SUV body styling, and this is precisely what they get with it. You're getting everything that you expect from a premium hatchback, all of it, but you're getting this design language of an SUV. What is good, what works in the favor of Fronx here particularly is the fact that this doesn't come across as a hatchback on stilts. It's not just some jacked up hatchback that has been made to look like a crossover. It comes across as a small but smart looking SUV. It's got that proper SUV stance. So it's a sporty SUV, and I think that is one big edge it has over hatchbacks. Of course, if you're comparing it to rivals, the other SUV or the crossover rivals it has, I think if you're out in the market looking for something of this body style, I think the Fronx definitely deserves your attention. It's a great package, looks great, it's got good features, it's got good usable space. With the boosted jet engine, it is a treat to drive. So for all you buyers out there who are looking for a turbocharged engine and you want to have fun at times driving the car, well, I think the boosted jet engine will keep you happy. But of course, if you are someone who's looking for a practical and a very fuel efficient drive, well, in that case you can go in for the 1.2 litre engine, which we all know has been around in the Baleno for a while and is a tried and tested unit. So at the end of the day, well, with the Fronx, Maruti Suzuki wants to extend or expand its SUV market share, and with the kind of package that they have delivered, I think the Fronx will successfully add good numbers to their order books. Now, if you like this video, please subscribe to the channel, press that little bell icon so that you can stay updated to all our forthcoming videos, and do share it as well.